Hey, and welcome back. In this video, we're going to try to finish up all of our authentication work, our basic authentication work, and also start to add some navigation to this application. Before we get started any further, we have the roles on our user model. For user, that's going to be the default. Owner will eventually make this application multi-tenant so that there could be an account owner. But then there's this admin role here, and we want to make it so that we can administer this application, see what's going on behind the scenes if you have this admin role. So I'm going to come back to my command line here. I'm going to say Rails G controller, and we're going to create an admin controller that will automatically generate an admin controller and then also a view for this index page here. And we're going to run that, and that will create, if we just run this, Rails S, that will create the admin view. If we come back to our application, we should be able to just say admin index and be able to see this view. But we only want someone to be able to see this view if they meet two conditions, okay? The two conditions are A, they're logged in, but then B, they also need to have the admin role. So I want to show you how we're going to do that. First, we'll go to our controllers, we'll look at the account controller, we'll copy this before action, we'll put that here. But then we'll also say before action ensure admin. And we can put that up on our application controller if we want to. For now, I'm just going to put it right here. I'm going to go to my MISC file. I've kind of written this method already, and I'll explain it to you here. But this is a private method inside of this controller that says ensure admin. And what we say is if the user signed in, okay, now again, this is a devise method that we get for free from devise. If user signed in and the current user has an admin role, that's what this function or method call does, then we want to say, hey, let this guy through. Otherwise, if not, we want to just redirect them to our home page or our root path, and we'll return false from this function just to let Rails know, hey, listen, don't try to go any further. This is the end of the line for this particular request. So we have this ensure admin function now. If I refresh this page, I automatically get sent to the home page because well, first off, let me see if I'm logged in. I think I'm logged in. So I am logged in, so I can see this page, but I cannot see this, the admin page. Okay, so let's fix that real quick. I'm going to open a new terminal, a new tab terminal. I'm going to say cd dev, cd Rails MVP starter. And now I'm going to show you a new thing called the Rails console. If I run Rails C, it will create a console. Now this is talking to the Rails application, but it's doing it from the console. So if I say user first here, I can see my user, but what I want to do is say user first, and then I want to say admin and put that little exclamation point after it. And what that will do is change the role from user to be admin. And so now if I just say user first and I look at the role, it has a role of admin. Now if I go to PG admin and I load this table, let's see, how do I do that? View edit data, all rows. When you look at the role, you're going to see that it's an integer, and that's what I was telling you earlier about how in the database this would be a 0, this would be a 1, and this would be a 2. So if you came in here and added a new role in this spot right here, then all of a sudden I wouldn't be an admin, I would be whatever this new role is. So you always want to add any new roles to your application at the end of your enum. So now if I come back to Rails MVP Starter, I can get to account, but I can also get to admin because now I'm an admin user. So let's just review this code really quickly. We're going to first make sure that we're signed in, but then after that we'll run ensure admin, and that will keep out people from hitting this view unless they happen to actually be admin users. So that's one improvement we wanted to make here, is start to build out what will eventually be a really slick and awesome admin portal for this application, but today it's just super basic. One other thing I want to do is on our user model, we have a column for the name, but we don't have any way to actually have that name be added to the user. So if I go to devise, registration, new, we want to add the ability to put a name in here. And I think that this should be our first field here. Ask for the name. Instead of email field, I want it to be a text field. I'm going to remove autofocus true off of the email field. But now we can have this name field to come in. I also want to make sure that that someone actually has to put the name in. So if someone doesn't put the name in here, then they won't be able to save this to the database. That's what this validation on this model says, is, hey, the name field needs to be present. And the last thing that we need to do to make this actually work is we need to allow this parameter, this name parameter, to be permitted in this controller. So to do that, one way we can do that is we can update our application controller and create a private function in here for configure the permitted parameters here. For us, we want to be able to pass in the email, the password confirmation, and then also the name. But we only want to call this function if it's actually a device controller, particularly the registrations controller. So to do that, we can add this as a before action. But Ruby is really powerful, and a lot of people like it because of things like this. We only want to run this if this condition is true, if it's a devise controller. So this is a method that again comes with devise that will say, hey, this is a devise controller. So now when we try to sign up, we can actually have this name value be added to the database model. So the last thing that I want to do here is I want to make it easy to navigate here. I'm going to create a new directory under views called shared. And I'm going to create a new file under it called _nav.html.erb. Okay, and this file here, I'm going to copy some code into it. And now this file is going to have a link to the home. Okay, if the user signed in, we're going to say welcome, and we're going to have a link to the account path here. We need to go in and update our routes so that it can understand these paths here. Routes. Account path. Now we should be able to get autocomplete. I'm still having a little trouble with that. We'll come back and fix that here in a moment. But if the user's admin, we show them the admin path, and then we also have a logout link, a sign up link, and from the sign up link we can get to the sign in link. So how do we render this nav? I want to render it for all of the pages at once. So we're going to go into this application layout here, and at the top we're going to say render, and then say shared nav, and that is going to render that for all of our pages. I predict something's going to break here, but we're going to run it just in case. Okay, so no implicit of nil into string. So right now our current user doesn't have a name because we hadn't fixed that earlier. So I want to make it so that it won't completely blow up our application, and I want to just put this little ampersand here. That'll say, hey, try to call this method name here, but if it doesn't do anything, then or if it's not there, then don't worry about it. Actually, that's not a good solution here, because the problem, the method call that's failing is this concatenation, not this other thing. So instead of doing it this way, let's change this whole thing to not use concatenation, but use interpolation. So now we have this new string, and this will tell Ruby, hey, listen, this is a variable that we want to actually call inside of here, and then that won't fail if you try to put that nil inside the string here. So now it doesn't understand our account path. I have something wrong with my route here. Can't remember exactly what the Rails routes as keyword. Let's come in here. Rails routing. So as patient. So I think we need to just not include the path. Okay, so as admin, as account. All right, cool. So I also need to update where we render this to that little equal sign is going to say don't just render it, but actually, print it out to our thing. I'm going to put a couple. I hate doing this. We'll remove these later, but I want a couple breaks in here just to make it easy. So if we want to go home, if we want to say welcome, if we want to say admin, or if we want to log out, this is great. So now let's sign up with a actual name. Great, so now we can see welcome Harris Reynolds. This is our account page. This is our home page, and we can also log out. Let's fix one quick little bug here. There shouldn't be a space after the name. But anyways, now we have a working application with a little bit of navigation. We have the beginnings of an admin portal. We also have an account page, and we have a home page. And we really have authentication fully wired up now. Everything looks terrible. It's super vanilla, but we'll start to sprinkle in some styles and some panache to make this look really cool. But for now, we're just kind of building the structure, and we have the basics of our application ready to go. The last thing I want to do is go ahead and get all this stuff pushed up to Git. I'm going to say Rails branch. We know that's not what we wanted, Rails. We say Git branch. We're on authentication. We say Git status. This shows us all the new gear, all the new goo that we created. I'm going to say Git add dot just to add all this to Git commit authentication, view controllers and pages. Okay, I haven't pushed this upstream yet, so now I'm going to say git push upstream. That's great. I'm going to say git checkout development and do the same thing here. I want to have that branch up on the server in addition to locally git branch, git checkout authentication. Awesome. So now if we go back to our Rails MVP starter here, we can see some different branches, and this authentication branch is where all of our new awesome code lives for Devise and for the new pages and everything. So if you want to start right on this section of the application, you can go straight to this branch, and we'll kind of break things up into a lot of different branches so you can start at different places. But anyways, thanks so much for watching, and I'm excited to keep building this foundation for this new MVP starter application. See ya.